whenever I trusted my own gut, it's never led me wrong. And I always feel good at the end of the day. And I just had to keep, even like when you're in a room with songwriters or something like that, and you really feel strongly about something, it's hard to be like the one person to be like, but I don't, like that just doesn't feel like me. Yeah. And being that person to do that. But it's like, it's really been the one thing I think that's like consistently throughout everything that has never led me astray and has always like taken me back on course to where like I can feel like everything I'm releasing is authentic and my actions and everything is just, it's always like my little North Star that I can rely on.
Today on Loves Music, I speak with Kai. Kai is a pop sensation from Seattle. Totally caught me off guard with her new single, Respare. I heard it, instantly fell in love, had her on the show to share her story with you all today. I hope you enjoy. If you like what you've heard so far, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I certainly value your feedback. All right, so up next, all the way from Seattle, we have Kai. So you agreed to do the show. I listened to your stuff for maybe 2 minutes, and then I had somebody else book. I had another guest coming on. So I listened to your stuff for about 30 seconds, started planning for the next guest, did the interview, and then 4 or 5 days later, I'm sitting there in the car and I'm like driving. I think I'm on my way to the gym in the morning.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there humming. I'm like, wash away. Wash away. And I'm like, I have this song stuck in my head. And I'm like, what am I singing right now? Right?
You don't even know it.
Yeah, it's 5 days after I listened to your stuff for only about 90 seconds.
That's
literally,
crazy.
I didn't make it all the way through the song. The song stuck in my head. So now I'm planning for your episode. And I put the song on. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been singing her song for the last 2 days. Didn't even know it was your song.
That's good. When you get an earworm, that's a good sign. So
yeah.
That's hilarious. Oh, well, I'm glad it sticks.
Yeah, right? It's like very singability, repeatability.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hit. I mean, you could try with that song.
Yeah.
So the song that I'm referring to for the audience out there, it's called Respare.
Mm-hmm.
It came out April of this year. Kind of just like an indie pop tune, no different than the stuff that's on the radio. You're not doing the exact same thing, but it's just a mainstream pop hit.
Yeah.
It's called Respare. I'm hoping, is that going to be a part of a bigger project or?
All of my songs are a little bit linked together by kind of a common theme of not losing hope and it's never too late to start again. And all these things that I'm sure we'll talk about later, but are themes in my life where that's just like the stuff that interests me is singing about life and ups and downs of all of it and not losing hope despite all the challenges and things you've been through. I've been through a lot in my life and I feel like I've had 10 lifetimes to this point. So it's kind of what I like to write about more than relationship songs. I feel like those stuff there's so much out of it already and it's just not relatable to me as much. So that's always what I like to write about. So they all kind of link together in that way. And I always tend to, no matter what I start writing, I'm going to write this super upbeat pop song, then end up with something like that. So it's my soul just kind of tells me what to do. And I'm like, okay, I like that. But yeah, I found the word Respare. I don't know when. I had it in my list of song titles. I just keep on my phone and I was just kind of going through it and seeing what I liked. And I'm like, oh, what is that? So I forgot what the meaning of it was. And it's basically an old 16th century, I forget what century it was, word that just means return to hope after a period of hopelessness, basically. So it's kind of like this, you're in this kind of in the trenches and you're returning back to yourself and getting hopeful again and kind of seeing the light again. That was kind of it. And so I really just shaped the song around the title because I loved that word. And I just thought it was a really cool word that people don't really use anymore either. So I'm like, my mom's an English major. So let's bring some stuff. She loved that. Right. Yeah.
Right?
But yeah.
You definitely do that, right? You have pop sensibilities because you produce your own stuff too. So you make very accessible music, right? Some of the productions, I don't want to say it's sparse, but you're very deliberate, not huge elaborate tracks, but your songwriting is like gourmet indie songwriting. Like one of my favorite lines you have is we're swimming further deep down a loveless sea.
Yeah, into a loveless sea.
We're all drowning. We're all drowning because no one wants to save the enemy.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's not a pop song. That's heart-wrenching desperation. But it's in this beautiful, just easily accessible song.
Like that, those songs that have like kind of heart-wrenching lyrics, but the beat's kind of like, woo, it's like that juxtaposition of, but mine isn't that much, but I like having that juxtaposition too. Cause like, I don't love listening to like super sad songs unless I'm like, really need to cry, like have a release. But otherwise it's like, that's not really what I listen to. So all of my songs, I really want to have deep lyrics about those things, but also usually at the end at least have some feeling of hopefulness that it's like, you go through all these things, but there's still brighter days ahead and you haven't had your best day yet and all that kind of stuff. So I've always just, I like to go deep, but not like desperation deep,
Right. So when you penned that lyric about drowning in like a loveless sea because no one wants to save the enemy, was it like social commentary or was it coming from a place that was a little bit more personal? Because I read it both ways. Yeah,
it's funny. I hear a lot of people when they talk about my music and when they, how they feel when they listen to it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even think of it that way. Like, it's really interesting already that I'm already hearing like, oh, I don't think of this as being a sad song. And other people are like, it's a very emotional, sad song. I'm like, oh, interesting. I love that because that's what art is. Like you interpret it how you want to interpret it. Yeah. For Loveless Sea, I wrote that song probably, 3 or 4 years ago now. 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
It was one of my first songs. And that one definitely at the time definitely was like social commentary and everything happening in the world and just the rise of all this racism, homophobia, sexism, everything. It was just amplified. Like everything just felt like everybody hated each other for whatever reason. You don't think like I do. I'm not going to help you because you feel this way. It was just like a lot of divisiveness. So it was really just from a place of that, of just feeling like the imagery I have in my head for that is like, all these people are in this water and they're all trying to stay above water and tread water. And it's like, if you just reach your hand out to your left-hand side, you can help each other get out to the beach. Like, you're fine. And everyone's like, I don't want to touch you. I don't want to talk to you because you think this. I don't want to, like, it's just that individualistic mindset that, and now it's like, that doesn't even scratch the surface of how I feel about things going on in the world right now. But it was like very simplistic lyrics compared to stuff that I've been writing even before that, other demos I had. And I was kind of worried about that because I'm like, it's kind of like a basic song because it's so repetitive. But I kind of then learned that that's what makes it so like pure and innocent and like just how my feelings are of it. Like it really is that simple too, of like what's going on in the world, and it's simply fixed by love and kindness and all that kind of stuff that is just hard for people to attain to. But that was kind of what it was about for me personally. Yeah.
Right. Well, sometimes less is more. It didn't. I feel like it didn't need like a ton of layers. You know, like the message landed, it resonated. Knee-jerk reaction. I thought it was a commentary on loneliness and isolation. So I was like semi-right.
Yeah, totally. It could absolutely be that. Yeah. Which is, exactly. It goes hand in hand for sure. Yeah.
So it delivered. Obviously you sing. Are you producing your entire tracks yourself as well?
So I really started this backwards, which is really funny. So I've always been into music. It was always my thing. And ever since I was a kid, like I would just go out in our yard, listen to music, dance, sing, top of my lungs, like with my portable CD player, dancing around and it's skipping. And it's just like that. Like that was just my life. My family's always been super into music. And so it's always been a really big part of me. And during that time, when I was younger, my family are domestic violence survivors. So there was a period of time for a pretty big chunk of my childhood that was dealing with that. And that was extremely traumatic and hard. And like, it'll take 5 hours to get through everything. So I'm just gonna like surface level through it all. Okay. But it was very, so that was like a really hard time where after a while, I just kind of like lost my love for all of it. I just stopped singing. It was just like a very traumatic time for everybody. But through it, we still, music was always a thing that we would like go for car rides, listen to music and have dance parties. Anyway, my mom fought tirelessly against a system that really wanted to keep us seeing the abusive person. And she won the case. And so we got our freedom and our safety after like many years of her fighting this system. And after that, it was kind of like, what do we do now? Because everything was just like, we were in this small bubble. And now you're like, oh my gosh, like there's people just out here living their life normally. Like, how do you adjust into that? Once we got out of that, it was kind of like, readjusting to normalcy. I developed a lot of anxiety and PTSD from that. And so it was really just working on kind of re-healing ourselves through that. And a couple years after that, me and my mom ended up being caretakers for my grandma. And after a little while, that situation also became a very emotionally abusive situation that we were not fully able to get out of because we were the sole caretaker. And so it was kind of like this thing of like, as soon as we would start to heal and then we'd get thrust back into something that wasn't our fault. That wasn't like just these things that would happen. So because some of the things were a little bit similar and we were just trying to navigate all that. And then I just my anxiety was just getting worse and worse and worse. Music is always going through all of this and it has always been my passion. But I just had all these different things. But anyway, just all of that to say that I just kept developing worse and worse anxiety and all that stuff. So it was always my dream to be a singer, be a musician. And I, grew up on Cheetah Girls and High School Musical and just like what you imagine being like a pop star. And I'm just like, that's just the dream, And then as my anxiety kept getting worse and worse, I'm like, this is just something I just can't even imagine pursuing. Like, I could barely go for walks without having a panic attack. Like, it was so severe. And then we finally got out of like all those situations and we were good. And so me and my mom were like trying to figure out like how to build our life again. And so we were finally like healing and getting better and better each day. And during COVID, it was, everything shut down. And I was like, I've done a lot of work. I feel a lot better now. Maybe I should try and pursue this music thing, now that everything's kind of like quieted down and see what happens. So I got a ukulele and I just started practicing that because I wanted to learn guitar, but I was like, that seems like a lot to try and start right off the bat. So let me start with something smaller. So I started playing ukulele and then I started posting covers. And then this management team out of Nashville saw some of my covers and they were like, hey, we'd love to work with you. We love your sound. We'd love to like develop you as an artist. And I was like, this is a scam. Like there's, you get those things all the time on social media. Like,
you're like, how much?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe my invoice to come.
Yeah. So we did like a thorough vetting process. I waited like a year to like fully agree. We had like a lot of phone calls and I flew out to Nashville to meet with the manager. And finally we're like, like there's no other time. I'm scared, but I got to do it. Like, I don't want to have any regret of being like, what if, and this is like the right time in my life to be able to do it and like actually be able to have an opportunity to follow my dreams finally. I signed with them. I worked with them for like a year. I did vocal training, songwriting, worked on demos. And at the end of about the year, I was sent to a week of songwriting in Nashville that I did with different songwriters every day. And then after that, I had demos. I sent demos of the songwriting trip songs that we created and also my own stuff to the team. And then they blindly listened to it and chose which 2 songs they think I should produce to be my first 2 singles. So we did that. And so the first 2 songs on the list were actually both ones that I had written. So the first one was Loveless Sea. And the second one was another song that I had written that kind of had the same vein of that it was more of that like acoustic-y, a little bit slower, more emotional vibe. And I, at the time, was like, I want to have a little bit of both as my first 2 singles. So it was Loveless Sea. And I was like, let's do Symphony of Sadness because it's kind of like the opposite. And I wanted to do both. And at the end of my songwriting sessions, one of the songwriters was this guy named Kyle Reynolds. And he was pulled in last minute because someone had to leave the session or someone had to call out last minute. And so they're like, well, he's a pop singer. Like, let's have him do the songwriting session with you. I didn't know who he was at the time. And I was like, sure, sounds good. Let's do it. So we wrote Symphony of Sadness with Kyle Reynolds and Kayleigh Lowe, who was this other songwriter. And as I started working with him, I'm like, you're a producer too. They have some producers that they work with in the team, but they also work with him too. And I'm like, he's in LA, a lot closer to me than Nashville. And I'm like, I would love to have him produce because he was kind of doing a raw production of Symphony of Sadness in the songwriting sessions.
Okay.
I'm like, I really like your style, like the artist he works with. I want him to produce these songs. And so the team was like, yeah, like whatever you want, that's fine. Like, let's do that. And so Kyle ended up being the one who produced Loveless Sea and Symphony of Sadness. So I went to LA to produce both of those with him. So I wrote Loveless Sea on my own, and then Symphony of Sadness was a co-write. The rest of the stuff has been my own production and songwriting and everything like that. But that's basically, I started out working with a producer and now I've like gradually gone to that I'm doing my own thing, because I mean, when you're an independent artist, it's really hard to afford that every time you want to make music. So I'm like, I got to learn how to do this on my own.
First and foremost, I'm so sorry for what you went through.
Thank you.
Abuse is, I don't want to just like gloss over that.
Yeah.
So for anything that you've been through, my heart goes out to you.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. You
kind of did do it backwards, like you said, right? You went out, you did like the Nashville pilgrimage, and then like recorded. But now you're doing your stuff. Do you have a tendency or an affinity for one over the other? Like, do you like writing by yourself versus the producer, or vice versa? What do you prefer?
I've always done better solo writing. I'm really glad that I had that experience, because it's like I think everybody should have, it doesn't have to be at that level, like just have an experience of writing with somebody or creating with somebody else, because it does help you like get other ideas, because we can still be in our own heads all the time. So like it's very valuable. But I think I'm a very introspective person, and I'm a very independent person. And I just I like to be quiet and just kind of like go inward and create in that way. So like it was hard for me. And especially being my first time, I hadn't sung in front of anyone before besides my vocal coach. And going into that situation, and you're in a room of, at the time, you think like, oh my gosh, these people are so much better than me, and these people are da-da-da. And like, it's hard to put yourself in that equal position, which is like, you're an artist, you are, but it's just hard to do that when you're new to it all. And it was an amazing experience. Everyone was so nice, and we did create some great stuff. But I think overall, I find it a lot easier to write on my own, and I just prefer it. I'm a lot faster when I do it on my own. And
me too. Like I like the community of like hanging out with musicians, but like there's nothing to ever beat just like me and my engineer, door lock, buried in a project. Come out like 6 hours later with a song.
I feel weird singing other people's words, even if it's like them talking about something that I want to talk about that's personal to me. It still feels like not as authentic as like, this is just raw from my soul 100%, and like exactly how I'm feeling right now. But I mean,
Well, you mentioned things being hard. Like I wanted to ask you, like, because there's two types of challenges, right? There's our inner challenge, like our intrinsic challenges, the things that block us. And then there's just the stuff we have to deal with, like outside, just like external factors that we have no control of. What's your biggest challenge internally? And then also, what's your biggest challenge that just the industry, just the biggest headache that you have to deal with?
What do I choose? There's so many options. Goodness sakes. I would say everything.
I'm an artist. It's all.
Every day is just a little bit of suffering. You gotta suffer for your art. I think internally, it definitely is. I'm a severe perfectionist, like to a very bad degree. And I think it is good, because it shows in the music, hopefully, that I take it very seriously, and I don't ever want it to be like, oh, well, this sounds good for where you're at. Like, like I want it to sound like stuff that you hear on the radio or stuff that's out there already. And that is kind of my number one goal. But it also comes with a lot of like, I don't know what I'm doing fully right now. Like every time I make a song, I'm YouTubing, okay, how do you do this on this track? How do you do this? Which is awesome. It's a great feeling, but it's also like, you just are listening to reference tracks by people that have like all these producers and songwriters and all engineers and all, and then you're like expecting yourself to do that in your room with like one DAW. It's like you're holding yourself up to these like industry giants. Yeah, absolutely.
And as if you're just gonna like turn on a keyboard and sound like that.
100%. And my mind just can't really separate that still. So it's like it's always a battle of meeting yourself where you're at and being okay with that and just working to the best ability that you can in that moment. And each time you make something new, it's going to get better and better and better, and just being patient with that process. But I think I'm not a patient person with myself. I'm patient with everything else and the way things unfold, but like I always just am like, well, why can't you do that yet? Like, why can't you do this faster? Why can't you do it's just, it comes with the process. But I think it is that's definitely the biggest struggle is that, and of course imposter syndrome that everybody has. And just like I want to just be able to sit down and be like, okay, let's have a positive mindset going into this and just like do our best. Then it's always like, why can't you do that?
Right.
That's kind of the thing that I'm trying to work on a lot. I'm starting to deal with a lot of burnout, just from, and we'll probably talk about too, but like social media stuff and everything that you have to do as an independent artist while also being creative and finding inspiration. And it was just getting pretty severe where I was like starting to get very depressed about things and feeling like I'm not doing as best as I want to be doing. And I'm like, a lot of people are talking about this now. And I think it's the right time, is just like and everybody says it, but you need to enjoy the process. That's number one thing. There's no success at the end of the road that's going to make all the process and suffering worth it. You're going to maybe be happy for a couple days and then you're back at it and you're miserable again. Like I really am just trying to get myself into the position of just being super happy and good with whatever happens during the day and just enjoying the process and also enjoying my life and having it just be a positive experience. So that's what's most important to me right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a frame that I thought was really helpful. I was speaking to an artist. His name was AB, and I actually knew him personally, and we were doing music together. But like he really like kind of flicked a switch and started getting a lot of streams, started getting some traction. He was touring out in LA a little bit, and I asked him, and I was 11 or 12 million streams now. I mean, like not nothing, doing good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I was like, tell me about the shift you made from making, maybe more experimental music to making mainstream music. And he was like, there is no shift. He was like, all the music you're making is experimental. It's just that one hits because it happened to be accessible. So the idea that you're going to make an industry song, it's like, no, you keep making experimental music.
Oh, that's so true.
Like viciously and like violently authentic to yourself. And then one hits. Like it's all experimental.
It is.
There is no making
That's
song.
such a good perspective. It's so true. Yeah, I think it's really easy to get in that headspace of like, okay, I'm gonna look at the top 40 and I'm gonna make a song that sounds like that because that's what's popular right now. And it's like
everyone does that.
Everybody does that. And I've always, even if I've tried, which I really haven't, even in like when I'm making demos, if I try, it's like it just doesn't feel right. Like I do trust my gut with so many things. And that's like the number one guide of anything I'm doing. If my mind's telling me whatever, I know what feels good when I'm listening to it or what doesn't, and what feels authentic to me. And anytime I try to do something, like if it doesn't feel authentic, I can't promote that. Like it feels weird. It doesn't feel like it's yourself, So I love that. That's such a great perspective. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you also have incredible instincts too. Because I mean, needless to say, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I think by far the best song on your catalog is the song you did by yourself. That was the one that I kept singing. That was the one that got stuck in my head that I was like, oh my God, like this is like, is she like touring already? Like what is, and that was the one you did by yourself. And then huge. What's cool about that song, right? You hold that song up and then you put it next to your profile and you're like, oh, that face, that song, those photos, it all just kind of went like this. And I was like, so not only was it a good song, but it's also a great extension of you.
I love
your
that.
instincts are right. What your gut is telling you is right.
That means so much. That song was a headache and a half because that was my first absolutely solo production. The Chase was another song that I did produce, like all the vocals and all that kind of stuff, but it was a track that I bought from another producer. And I just loved the track and I was kind of like, this is just fun. I just want to do something for fun. And it was my way of like slowly getting into learning self-production, where like if I was just gonna be like, okay, produce something on your own now, my mind would not do well with that. So I'm like, let's just gradually step back from working with a producer. And now, okay, I'm just gonna try doing vocal production. And then now I'm gonna try doing a whole track myself. And it had a totally different way that it started. And I just kind of kept molding it and
Yeah.
learning with it. And it was, I mean, the hardest part for me is like saying, okay, it's done. That's the hardest thing
Right.
for me. I
Oh my God.
I
I
am
know.
so bad at that.
I know too.
And
Mhm.
not even like I want to add anything else to it, but just that feeling of being like, I'm not going to touch it anymore. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not absolutely 100% perfect, but
Right.
I'm going to like suffer extremely if I keep trying to be this dead horse.
Well, then you got to send your baby out into the wild,
Yes.
right? You're like, thing I've been molding and protecting.
After
And
you,
you're like, all right, now I'm like, it's the world's now.
yes,
And
it's
you're like,
such
you
a
gotta want people
vulnerable
to fall for
feeling.
yourself. Yeah.
Especially when it's just you. Like that's like you have nothing else to fall back on
Mhm.
then. And it's you listen to it like 50 times when you're mixing and mastering it, and by that you're like, I don't even know what it sounds like. I don't know how anyone's
Yeah.
gonna like, all you're listening
Yeah.
for is your own mistakes, so you can
Close
make
to
it
it.
sound good, but then it's
Yeah.
like that's all you hear.
Mhm.
But I will say my mom, who has kind of become my manager now too, because we are just like best friends, we work together so well, and she's
Mhm.
a part of any background thing that I do in my music. She's always been there, so
Cool.
supportive. And she is my other ear that I always have her listen, like, okay, what do you think about this? Then she'll say, oh, why don't you try doing this? So like anything that you think sounds good is probably 95% of her being like, do that, do this. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Good. All right.
It's just really helpful to
Yeah.
have another set of ears when you get to that point.
Yeah,
She's like,
get her on the payroll. Yeah.
exactly. As soon as I start having a payroll, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
You might have a payroll.
Definitely. Yeah. That's priority one.
Okay. It all kind of makes sense now. Like you talk about perfectionism, you talk about producing yourself, and anybody who does music knows it's tedious, it's hours,
Yeah.
a lot of loneliness, a lot of long hours by yourself. When you get in those quiet moments and the self-doubt creeps in and the perfectionism keeps in, and you're comparing yourself to people with billions of streams
Yeah.
and artists that are on world tours already,
Yes.
how do you address those darker thoughts? Like, what are you telling yourself in those dark times?
I'm still trying to figure that out, honestly. That's something that I'm now within the last, honestly, probably like week. I've just tried to like not have that day be the end all be all. Like I've had it happen so many times now where I'll be just at complete desperation. Like I can't write anything. I can't figure out what sound I want to make. And you just start spiraling. And usually when it gets to that point now, I'm like, you got to take a break because you're not going to make anything good with this kind of mindset. Like people
Right.
can hear that through your music that you're like, sorry,
good.
you know? So
That's really accurate. That's really
Yeah.
smart. to
yeah,
think of it
yeah,
that way.
it's
And they
and
can.
it's not then it's not fun. Like then I'm not
Right.
enjoying it, and I'm just like trying to push myself through it. And I think a lot of the way that life is presented now is that you push through everything and you got to grind and you got to like push through all this
Mhm.
stuff, and like
Yeah.
that's the way to get art to come through. And I'm like, I've just not found that to be the case for me personally. And I think a lot of people aren't really finding that either. And so like I said before, like my priority now is to enjoy it and have fun doing it, because this is my biggest passion and job. And I'm just like, today it's kind of a wash, and you found something that maybe, okay, you found what you don't want to do. So that's
Right.
good. That's still something.
Cool, man.
And
Yeah.
then
Cool, man.
start fresh the next day. And usually then I'll have some epiphany and be like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever written the next day. Like, it's just, you can't put those like finite things on it of being like, this is it and this is how it's going. But I mean, I think it's something I definitely still struggle with. And my poor mom is also my therapist. And just like, I'm just like, Mom, I
Yeah.
can't do it.
Yeah.
This is so bad.
Manager, music critic,
Yeah,
therapist.
she really needs a
Chef.
heavy salary. Like this is really bad. But she's the only person who can really get me out of that and being like, it's okay. We'll just start fresh.
Yeah.
Like you have it. You got it. It's just
Yeah.
today's not the right day to do it. And so
Right.
I'm practicing that really recently of just being like, okay, I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna go for a walk, I'm gonna go do something else completely different and give my mind a break. And then I'll probably come back to it feeling a lot better.
You also talked about burnout, which I think is super important. Now, I
Yeah.
actually had a guest on. Her name was Allie. Shout out Allie Mack too, if you're watching.
Yay, Allie.
She was I mean, she'd been to the mountaintop. She was doing sound engineering for Post Malone, Fetty
Oh my
Wap.
gosh. Wow.
And she was like, and she did the whole LA thing, went out there, tried to make it,
Mhm.
and had a decent amount of success.
Yeah.
And she was like, the one thing that people never really consider, it's always like, make it at all costs.
Yeah.
Sacrifice everything
Yes.
to be a star. Get all the accolade. And she was like, nobody really ever considers, well, how do you want to get there? And if you really stop to think, well, what environment do I want to be making music in? Who do I want to be making music with? Who do I want to be around while I'm creating? Are the relationships in my life, are they stoking my creativity, or are they like hindering it? Am I being judged, or am I being encouraged? And you got to consider that it really is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you really consider the I guess the environment, like the totality of like the people that you're on this journey with, world of difference.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't really consider that. They'll be like, oh, I'll sacrifice sleep, I'll sacrifice health, I'll sacrifice my relationships for the Grammy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no. Like you gotta think about who do you want around you, because you're gonna get there.
Exactly.
You know?
You don't want to be standing there alone.
Yeah. And that was her antidote to burnout. She was like, the minute I start prioritizing my health, my environment, my relationships, my, intake of, substances, complete game changer.
It's so true. It's so sad how everything has kind of been ingrained into everybody's minds that is like the only way to be successful.
Right.
And I mean, you don't know how much money people are putting into their music at that level. That's like, it's insane. It's like, you can't judge that by anything realistic on like what you're doing in your own journey is, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors to everything. And I just, that's the thing that bothers me the most, I think, is that mindset of like that grind and sacrifice everything. Because you buy it. I mean, I didn't know anything when I started. That's all I'm seeing videos about. Everyone's just saying, oh, you're not doing, I open my phone and I'm like, I just want to relax for a second, scroll for a second, and then it's like, you need to get out, you need to make a video, you need to put it, and I'm like, relax. It's everywhere. It's omnipresent. And it really takes a lot to find that like crack to go through and be like, wait, this does not feel good to me. This is like leading to burnout. And then you're not going to create anything you're proud of. So it's, I completely agree with her on that. That is absolutely what you need to do. Like, enjoy your life and your health and make sure you're good. And then you can create from that. But otherwise, nothing good comes from it.
With you being so kind of entrenched in your own project, can you still listen to music objectively, like hear a new song and be like, oh, this is dope? Or are you too much of like an artist where you're like,
I love that question. No, I can't. And it's one of the biggest things I've just been coming to realize. Like, I literally don't really like on the like if I'm like hanging out with people, I'm like, we have like the radio on, I will like listen to music, that's fine. But like, I don't listen to music really unless it's an artist that I really love and they came out with something new, then I will. But I don't really listen to music like
passively.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I can't anymore. And anytime I do now, it's like usually more so it just opens up the floodgates to my own creativity where I'm like, oh, that's a cool sound. Oh, I like that. Or like, oh, this is a cool, like, just like it makes my mind switch to artist mode. And if I'm not in a place where I can like execute that, then it's like very overwhelming and stressful. So I really have to like, if I'm at my desk, I really just started, if it's like stuff, I like to listen to like Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole and all that. Like, I like to listen to that and put that on in the background. Easy listening stuff, but anything more that's like in my wheelhouse of what I make, I can't. And I'm listening to like each, like, oh, how'd they produce that? Or I wonder what they used. I wonder what plugin that is. I wonder, just like, you can't. Okay. It's so funny. I didn't see that coming, but yeah.
So you can't like listen to like, it took me a while to be able to listen to music passively. And to the point where it's like, I could hear a song and like cry, or I can hear a song and get like fired up again. You know? So, and it's that part of it kind of sucks, Like,
I mean, it's cool on the one hand.
Enjoy new music.
Exactly. It depends. I mean, it depends on the day too. If I'm like doing really well in my own music and I feel like, oh, I'm on a good track or something, then I still listen to music a lot, but it's like certain times where I feel like I can. Otherwise, I just know when it's good and when I'm like, I'll get too lost in the sauce and I can't focus.
So you don't have like music junk food, you just put it on for like a vibe.
I mean, I do sometimes, but I'd say not as much as I used to. I mean, because before I was making music and all I did was that, I would just put on music constantly and listen to music constantly and like imagine that it's you singing it and you're making these music videos and like all that kind of stuff. But now that it's what I'm actually doing, it's a little bit like there definitely are times I listen to music all the time, but it's more so from the perspective of like educating myself than like just passively listening.
You obviously do a lot of things very well. If you were to choose one skill to refine and try to get really good at, what would that be?
I think production for sure. I never thought of myself as doing it because it was always a little bit overwhelming to me. It was like, I love songwriting and I love singing, and that's already enough to work on. And it just seemed like this whole other unattainable world to step into that was like, how could I ever learn how to do that? But really just came out of necessity that I'm like, I can't afford to pay anybody, but I have these songs I want to make and I don't want to wait for anybody. And I don't want to just be like sitting, like, okay, I'll just like go work a ton and then make one song and then try and promote it. And then like, especially now, like things do need to be pumped out, not to the degree that it's like severe, but you still want to be consistent.
Some volume.
And it just wasn't realistic, and it isn't realistic. So I'm like, well, I have no choice. So I'm just going to try it. And then I just I fell in love with it. I love it because I can just fully create from myself. Like I don't have to, I'm a people pleaser. So when I'm like producing with someone, I'm like, I like that, but what do you think? Like, that's always a hard thing. Like, I can always, my gut, like I said, leads me every way. So I'm like, I don't like that, but it's always like, I have to like, I feel like I have to kind of like sugarcoat it or whatever. And I'm just like, it's just nice to just be my own boss and be like, okay, change that. And I can just do it right there and do it at my pace and learn it. So I think that's honestly one of my biggest passions now is like being able to produce and learning how to do that at a high degree. And that's definitely what I'm focusing on.
So on this last run of music, right, when you really started taking it seriously till now, what's the most valuable lesson you've learned?
Ooh, I would say trusting your gut. I think, especially because I was working with so many people, and my producers, the guy, Kyle, who I was working with, amazing, like somehow had this amazing experience with the producer right off the bat, which is, I think, really rare. So but still, there's like always creative decisions and things that like other people might, like people on my team or something might say, well, why don't you do like something like that or whatever? But I'm like, that just doesn't feel like me as an artist. And so it's always that like back and forth. And what I've just come to learn is that like, whenever I trusted my own gut, it's never led me wrong. And I always feel good at the end of the day. And I just had to keep, even like when you're in a room with songwriters or something like that, and you really feel strongly about something, it's hard to be like the one person to be like, but I don't, like that just doesn't feel like me. Yeah. And being that person to do that. But it's like, it's really been the one thing I think that's like consistently throughout everything that has never led me astray and has always like taken me back on course to where like I can feel like everything I'm releasing is authentic and my actions and everything is just, it's always like my little North Star that I can rely on.
What's one of the best compliments that someone's ever paid you? Something that somebody said to you that like really stuck with you?
Probably you, when you were like, humming my music and saying, like, give it a couple years and you're not even going to need a day job anymore.
Yeah.
I think genuinely, I think that anytime anybody like talks about your music in that way where it feels professional, it feels like well done and people see that, I think that's probably one of my biggest, like it makes me take a deep breath and be like, okay, I know I am on the right track, like right. I have so much to learn, I have so much that I want to do, but like that I am doing well and what I am putting out there is being received the way I want it to be received, and everything feels cohesive as an artist and all that. That's always a struggle. So hearing people say that is like, yeah, that's one of the biggest compliments, I think, for sure. Like being unexpected that it's at this level already or something like that. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is. What is something that you're proud of that maybe has nothing to do with music?
Well, me and my mom had an earth-friendly apparel company during the time that we were taking care of my grandma because we needed something else. We wanted to, after we came out of the case and the DV situation, like we didn't really know how to adapt into normal life, but we wanted to do something that made a difference. And we couldn't get like full-time jobs because we were taking care of her. So we're like, what can we kind of do in between? And environmentalism has always been a huge part of our lives. And what we built, just again, bootstraps. We've always been a bootstrap family. Like, let's just like, we're not going to rely on anybody to make us successful. We're not going to rely on anybody. We're just going to like try it. That's always the thing is like, let's just try and see what happens. And so I think it was 2012 when we started. We actually launched at Sundance Film Festival when they had like celebrity gifting suites. And there was a lady we knew there and she was like, yeah, we'd love to have your stuff there and like kind of do some gifting little things that people, basically they like walk through during the festival and then they can like choose something they like or whatever. It's really fun. And so that was like where it started. And having those experiences was like crazy. Like, how are we here at Sundance Film Festival with our clothes that we made and designed and talking about like all the positivities of like environmentalism and the fast fashion industry and ways you can give back and donate and all these kinds of things. And it was really crazy. There's been so many experiences like that where you're like, how did that happen? That's just totally wild. But I think all of what we've built through that, we've done like so many trash cleanups and all the stuff that we've done to give back to the planet and give back to our communities and stuff. I think that's something that I am extremely proud of. And that's, and it still is like a huge part of our lives. And, you know, we just recently were driving by this area after New Year's, and it's right by the water, and it was littered with confetti. And we're like, that was not our plan for the day. It was to go do a trash cleanup. We didn't have any of our stuff, but we're like, I can't drive away from this. Like, it's all going to just like end up in the water. So it was like in the evening. Yeah. We just end up spending like 2 hours with our hands in the rain, just like picking up the confetti. And afterwards, you just feel like good that you had an actionable change that you just made. Like, it's very rare that you can actually see that like that quickly, like, oh, that's a difference that I just made in an hour, and it was just us too. Yeah. So those kinds of things, I'm really proud about that stuff. It. Yeah.
I find that, and as I'm sure you experience this too, for every person that's making great music, I know somebody with crazy talent that's just not moving forward, or I know somebody with crazy hustle that just doesn't have the talent.
Yeah.
What do you think's more important, talent or like the work ethic, like the hustle part of it?
I think talent for sure. I think the hustle gets you so far, and it definitely does. But then what I've seen just objectively from people that I don't know, but like just kind of what I've seen is like a lot of people will have that where they're like, you know, posting every day, they're doing all these stuff, and they probably are extremely successful like in how they want to be. But it's like they're usually, what I've seen is like they get to that point and then there's like a stop, and then it's like either it's not what they thought it was going to be, or it's not fulfilling them anymore, or something like that, where they then maybe will keep going and then become even more successful. Or it's usually like, oh my gosh, I'm so burnt out, or something like that. And I think personally for me, I've never been able to fully engage in that just because I just don't have enough time in the day to devote to all of it. And I just also, it just feels a little bit inauthentic for me to just be like, every day posting 5 times a day and being like, check out my music. Just like, I really struggle with that, being like, look at me, look what I made. Like, it's just, which is what you have to do. But I think when you get to that point where like the talent will just speak for itself, you can post your song once and it just grabs somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then it grows kind of more organically. And it usually is more lasting because when you spend the time devoted to creating it, you're just much more involved in it, and you're much more like precious about it, where you just can have that longevity where you're fine-tuning and getting better every day, because that's what's keeping you motivated, is trying to be better every single day instead of just like rushing to the finish line that you want to get to and you're not really ready for it when you get there. I want to be prepared, so
that makes sense. Yeah, I always go back and forth with the talent work ethic debate. It's like the people that really grab me, they grab me without a whole bunch of their stuff. Like I hear a song and I'm like, I'm a fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then to get to that point, like how much hustle happened.
That's true. That's true. There is
I never really know. Yeah.
I mean, it probably is like 50-50, to be honest, because I mean, it is true. I can't be hypocritical and say I don't spend every like hour of the day working on music, that's all I do is that I wake up and I do it, and then I'm like basically doing it all day. So I mean, that is true. I never mind. Because it's like, why don't you just look at your life schedule? You're just sitting at your computer all day.
Well, it can also be almost like your Achilles heel. Like, do you ever have that friend that's just good at everything? It's like I had like this buddy growing up. He was good at every sport. Every girl liked him. And then we show up at karaoke one night and he picks up a mic and kills it. I'm like, dude, is there anything you can't do?
Yes.
But he's just like a regular guy now. Like everything just kind of came easy for him.
Yeah.
So he never really had that like sixth gear that we can just like turn on.
That's a really good.
Really propel yourself to the next level.
I definitely, I definitely see that. That is a really good point. The way I think I'm looking at it a different way. So I think in that term of like when you're just like you're talented and good at everything.
Yeah.
you don't have to like work toward it and like really engage in that passion. It's like, oh, this is easy. I'm gonna just like record a great song and then put it out there and like, and it'll do its thing. And it's like,
That's true.
that's not longevity really either, because then you don't have the passion behind it and like all the dedication and hours you spent working at it and like finding what you love and what you don't and all that aspect of it. So yeah, I mean, gosh, that I'm going to say 50-50.
It's an interesting debate, right?
It is.
Yeah. It's just not a debate. I mean, we're just talking, but I think you still need, even if you're very talented, you still need like that programming, for lack of a better term.
For sure.
Where it's like when you're talented, but you're also having a bad day.
Yes.
You have to be able to like flick that, go into like that next gear.
Absolutely.
And be like, all right, we're going to have to soldier through a bunch of, you know what?
Yep.
Where we can.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
And if you're not really used to it, I don't think that, I think if you're not really used to it, I think you'll just kind of fold.
I think that's definitely true. Yeah, for sure. I think
regress to where it's comfortable, not fail, but just regress to where you're comfortable.
Yeah, comfortability is very much like that's a scary place sometimes. You know, like I'm rarely comfortable anymore, which is like, you know, it's like you gotta
healthy.
I always feel embarrassed or something about what I'm putting out or like, you know, imposter syndrome, all that kind of stuff. But it's like when you learn to just be like, that's cool. It's cool to be uncomfortable because it means you're doing things and you're like doing what you're passionate about and learning and all that kind of stuff. So
just a little bit of honesty for you. Like I've always been like insecure, or not insecure, but like jealous about people that have been in like a career for say like 20 years, you know? But now at this age, like I have people in my job that have been doing it for, at least in the field, for like 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
And I always looked at it, I'm like, man, if I would have just picked one thing when I was 20 and just stayed with it, I'd be so good at it. I'd be so comfortable.
Yeah.
But I switched careers every like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm always like comparing myself to people that have been doing it for 10 years. Yep. I always feel like I'm like the new guy, even though I'm like, I just had my 4th year anniversary at my job. You know?
Yes.
I was like, how nice would it be to just pick something and just do it for a quarter century? I'd be so good at it. Right.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like we would be just like masters of it. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's so, I think about that a lot where you're like, well, maybe, you know, I think a lot of artists think, you know, maybe I should just go get a regular job and just like then I'll have money and then we can take trips here and there and like that'll be my life. But then it's like that scares me a little. Like I can see like the end of that. Like I kind of know how that plays out, where it's like I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I don't know what's going to happen a week from now. I don't know what's going to happen a couple of hours from now. Right. And a lot of it is in my own hands, like whatever I create or all these things. And I think the uncertainty of it is what excites me, where like I think, which is weird because I don't really see that as like something my personality lends itself to. Like having anxiety and stuff like that, like uncertainty is like one of the worst things. But it just I've always been a creative person, like I'm sure you, and it's like I get bored so easily. I can't I just feel my soul die when I'm like somewhere for, you know, more than a year or two and I'm like I'm so bored, I gotta do something else. Like I just want to try as many things as I can.
There's a certain power in what you're doing, right? I never had the luxury of being able to write music, so I always had to engineer. It was always like a collaborative effort. Yeah. But like what you're doing, and I just don't ever want you to take it lightly. If you take nothing away from this conversation, like you literally walk into a room where there's nothing. Yeah. And you can sit down with like a computer and your mind and give me art. You know,
crazy.
I've never been able to do that. I've always needed a musician. I need somebody to come in and help me. Like I've never been able to do that. And you can. And that in and of itself is like, it's maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but it's magic. And the fact that you can do it and you can do it at the level you do it at is like never anything to be taken lightly. You know, so when you're like, I get bored. I feel weird when I'm not creating. It's because that's the magic. Like that's the good part. You know what I mean? Yes. The money will come. There'll be checks in your account at some point. You know, that's like you're in the magic now. You know, like waking up tomorrow. I mean, you can wake up tomorrow and by midnight have a song. And it'll be good. That's, you know,
it's crazy. I really appreciate that. I really genuinely appreciate that. It is really weird, and I think when I get lost in all the negative aspects of self-talk and all that kind of stuff, you do forget that like that's amazing that you can literally just like out of nothing create something. And I think it's not that it's been like easy, you know, it's been I've worked at it a lot, and it's you've had those periods of like I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to make. I want to make, one day I want to make something like this. The next day I want to make something like this. I have a hard time landing on like a specific sound. And, just like I was not good in the beginning. I mean, like I definitely, it's funny because, my mom always talks about it because I was never like a writer. I hated writing things. I hated, I didn't like reading because mostly because my mind's so active. I just can't like focus that long. So like nothing against it. I've just never been someone that like I was a really great student, but it was always hard for me. Like if it was something I'm specifically actively doing or interested in, I can absorb all the information. It's great. But if it's not, like it just goes out the other ear. I just can't focus on it. And it's so funny because she's like, for someone who just like did not like to write or read, you like just come up with lyrics so quickly, and you are like you're writing you're writing all the time. And for some reason it feels, because it's something I care about. And it's because it's something that I just personally am just like writing from myself instead of there being guidelines of like write about the subject you don't care about. It's like it really makes that difference. But it's it's taken a lot. It was not like great stuff in the beginning that nobody will see the light of. It just takes. I wonder
because it's like different parts of your mind. It's the difference between reporting and recalling, right?
Yes.
Like if you're recalling, it's something you learned. So now I have to be like, all right, I got to remember the equation and the chemical formula. And then as opposed to reporting, you're like, this is what's happening now. This is how I feel now. So you're reporting on it. So I think it's two different sides of your mind.
That's exactly.
Theorizing. That's, I don't know if I'm right.
That's exactly what it is. Jeez, I've been just like, all these years. That's exactly what it is. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I want to paint a picture for you now.
Okay.
Right. So with everything you've accomplished, let's say we're having this conversation 15 years from now, and you're completely hypothetical. Your 13-year-old daughter comes to you 15 years from now and is like, hey, I want to get into music. What's the one piece of advice you would give that little girl?
It's so simple, but like, you can do it. Like, just do it. Like you Nike. Like, I gotta come up with a different slogan than that. You have to just try. Just try it. I think start out from the aspect of just being curious and wanting to try. And that's what I started doing. I was like, I don't know how to play music. I don't know how to sing. I'm just going to pick up this ukulele and teach myself how to do it and try posting a cover and try doing those things. And like, that's where the magic comes from. That's how you find your passion. That's how you find like, oh, this is something that sticks. I've always been someone that's like, I get, like there's something I really want to do. I'll do it for like a couple months and then I get bored of that and I need to do something else. But music has never been like, that's how I knew this was right for me, because I've never had that like, okay, I did it. I had fun with that. Now I'm going to try something else. It's like, this is like everything to me. It's I can't turn it off. It's always just like ingrained in me. And so I think it's just like, don't be scared of what the hypothetical of what it all like, what this might turn into, what it might like, just take it every day at a time and enjoy yourself and try and learn. And I think that's just where the real passion presents itself and the creativity.
More people would succeed if you could fail in private. Like if you know that you could just mess up like in the comfort of your own home and be bad and sound stupid and make bad songs. But at some point you have to like put out this bad song and get critiqued. And you're like, oh, I'll go back to my 9 to 5.
It's exactly. I don't want to do this exactly. It's like I said, being uncomfortable. It's not a comfortable position to be in, and especially when you're at a smaller level and you just don't get that much feedback. If you want to be bad at
it for a year, eventually you won't be bad.
Yes, exactly. And I think a lot of people who aren't in music or aren't in anything creative, it's hard for them. Obviously, I mean, not any fault of their own. It's just hard for them to like see the progression. So when they see that, they're like, okay, well, this person's bad. They're always going to be bad. And it's like, nobody knows, like there is this growth that you have to go through. And unfortunately for this, usually you have to go through it publicly. And it's like a very awful feeling. You just have to eventually just be like, I'm trusting the process and just wait,
Yeah.
guys. Like it'll all make
Right.
sense. And you don't have to believe me
Absolutely.
now, but like I know my plan and I know what I'm doing. So just trust
Yeah.
me and everything will like, keep getting better and it'll have this upward trajectory. But yeah, it's just a lot of aspects that are very uncomfortable and you just have to find your peace with that.
When somebody stumbles upon this interview and they decide, I want to support this young lady, I love what she's doing, what is the single best way that your soon to be fans can support you?
I think definitely, streaming the music, that helps so much. I think a lot more than people even realize. Like it really helps, especially now, like the algorithms and everything like that. If there's like an active listening going on with an artist, even if they're small, it really helps the system know like, okay, this isn't just like a one-off. People are interested. And then even when you release more music, it starts pumping it out to more people. Like it's very weird, but it helps a lot. So like if there's activity, follow my socials and stay up to date with that. Interacting with posts helps a ton. I think that's one of the like most listening to music and interacting with people's posts is like one of the best free ways you can support any artist, because especially now with the algorithms and the way they are, like that's the one consistent thing that is, if there's any kind of like interaction with something that someone posts, it really boosts a lot and it's free and it takes no time and we appreciate it very much.
Well, Kai, I gotta tell you, you're already a rock star. The world just hasn't caught up yet. So keep doing your thing. Thank you so much for being here. I had a ball talking to you today.
I did too. This was, oh my gosh, you're my first interview and it could not have been with anyone better. Like genuinely, your questions, everything, conversation was just amazing. I love what you're doing and I'm so grateful to be part of it.
Well, thank you so much. Well, the rest of you, thank you so much for tuning in today. Please go out, support Kai, check her out on the socials. She's everywhere. Stream the song Respare and share it with everybody. It's a huge song. You're going to love it. Let's run the numbers up on that tune and take care of yourselves. We'll see you next Thursday.
Thank you.
Tell somebody who loves music.
Bye.